Hello and welcome to the Aid Station. I'm Chris Robb, and today I'm hugely excited to be heading to Manchester in England, where we meet Marcel Altenburg, Senior Lecturer and Program Leader in Crowd Science at Manchester Metropolitan University. Hey Marcel, great to see you again.
Hey, great to see you. I'm a big fan of the show I'm a consumer for the last 50 somewhat episodes. So very happy to be on.
Wonderful to have you on it, and you've got a great story to tell, and I'd love you to maybe start the show by telling us a little bit about the Marcel story, please.
So for those few who cannot hear that I don't have a Mancunian accent, but rather a German one, I moved to Manchester because this is the hub for crowd science worldwide. This is the one place that everybody turns to get advice or learn from crowd science, to Manchester Metropolitan University. It became this important because of the professor of crowd science that we had, Keith Still. And that's also why I came here as a student and now took over the course. Before, I was in the military for 12 years as a captain in the fighting forces, and also working for most of that time with the Berlin Marathon. I ran for their club. I won a couple of competitions within the army, for the army, and outside. And I just was heavily interested in numbers and all the details. So I studied sports science in Hamburg. I studied human science as a master's, and then started working with SCC events. You had Mark Milde on, a friend of mine,
Yeah.
and yeah, we just kept exchanging. I was still in the army, helping them out during their big events, the half marathon and the marathon, in their control room. Something that's quite natural to me, running a control room, where there could be a crisis at any point in time. And that was just a winning combination, working with guys like Carsten Humrich, who really know their field, and that connecting with the qualities that I was able to bring. I moved then to Manchester to study here, and they asked me to stay because they got wind I'm leaving the army after 12 years, and I would be of benefit for them and working with them. And that got me to amazing projects, may that be stadia, racetracks, festivals, all kind of things. But my heart always stayed with the marathon running. So I kept studying every number, all the numbers that I was able to get, all the results, all the details I was able to get, and connected to great leaders like Mr. Mike Nishi in Chicago, or Jim Heim in New York. And we collaborated and we built something. Um, like obviously we advise them. We are their main turning point we are the main point that they come to when they want to know anything regarding crowd movement anywhere in the city, during the event, before the event, after the event. And it also happened that we developed a program called Start Right, which is now used in 100 races worldwide, and is the main program people go to in order to calculate races.
That's
And that's how I
amazing.
came to Manchester. Yeah, it's a wild journey. It also led me to Singapore, like spend a couple of races there with you, like meeting you, seeing you before the race at a conference, in the VIP area during the race when I have time to go there. And it shows it's a small world. And yeah, and you can really go places. And I must also say the first couple of times I went to those big races, I paid for those flights myself because it was just driven out of interest in studying the numbers. But it really became something. It is an open industry, where people can collaborate and bring in their own ideas, and listen and work together and bring the marathon field forward, which is, at the moment, this collaboration is more needed than ever, I would think.
Wonderful. Gee, and again, one of the common themes of the aid station has been people whose jobs are their passion. It just comes out every time, and yet again, we found another one whose job is his passion. It's been interesting times, obviously busy times for you. You've been involved in so many amazing projects. I'm aware, and I think it's public knowledge. You helped the Bundesliga with their stuff. You've been working with World Marathon majors. But generally, what's life been like in Manchester during the last few months?
Crazy, crazy. I used to travel, like, I think whenever I had 3 weeks in Manchester in one go, I marked it in a calendar. So sometimes I couldn't believe it. Sometimes I didn't follow up the full 3 weeks. I needed to go earlier. But now I think I'm here for as long as I can think. I haven't left Manchester in a while. But work only got busier in a way, because obviously with crowd science we are in the heart of one of the main issues we have here. We have great relationships, which means there's a lot of meeting up, a lot of collaborating, um, and yeah, what I realize, the number of talks that I have, like, if I'm allowed to say so, off the clock in a way. So you deal with your day's work, and then you just reach out to, as I said, Mike Nishi after hours, or Mark Milder, and just like, hey, how are you doing? How are you experiencing the whole thing? What is your current challenge? And this challenge varies over time, and it varies from location to location. And then you try to make sense out of it and see where you can help, and maybe that sparks an idea. And you mentioned football, so we're working with dozens of stadia. We're working closely with the German Football Association in order to like bring this thing to the ground in a way, plus some other international world leading series that we work with. They all bring resources to the table, they all bring problems to the table, and we try to solve it together in a very trustful environment. um, like, I don't, I thought there is a, maybe some people experience it differently, but I thought there is a maybe a culture of people want to sell stuff, want to sell snake oil. But the people that I'm talking to and the circles that I'm talking in, we are shielded from that. We really, it's a very calm, non-catastrophic environment where we try to take what we got at and bring it to the table. So what it looks like is a lot of work, every day. I haven't taken a day off since the whole thing started in a way, but I'm planning to do so. But we are learning so much by working from Stadia, or learning from Stadia, learning from, let's say, racetracks, learning from festivals, from those 100 marathons where we know their challenges and we can bring them together, make sense out of it. Learning every day, and things change. Maybe this week the 2 meter rule in the UK changes, which is a game changer of maybe 80%, maybe 300%, depending on where the um, how they would change it, and that changes the whole environment. It's crazy interesting, but it puts us to a test. The biggest challenge right now is literally to start from zero. Don't start from 2019. It will take you too long to get from 2019 to 2020. If it's much more resourceful and promising to start from zero. Zero is probably more connected to 2020 than 2019 is.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a great tip, isn't it? And you know, it's also, as you know, I've been running the webinars every Thursday night, and we're
yeah,
excited to have you on this week again. And you know, it's been quite a common theme. People saying, you know, take your plans and start from scratch, or reevaluate your plans, because
and
this
it's
is an
painful.
opportunity. It's not a matter of regurgitating and trying to retrofit. Is this an opportunity to have a blank sheet of paper and see how we do things differently, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Very often I have my head like this during those meetings, because all of this is painful, but it needs to be done. And if you're a consultant and you sit in a meeting like this, like with your hand in front of your head, and that's normally not a good sign, but it fits the scenario right now. But we're doing the right things. We start with a blank piece of paper. We always said we do, but now we can put this to a test. Are we really? Or are there certain things that became part of our thinking that we cannot get out of our head anymore and see them as a given, but they would be able to be changed by a new generation, by people who maybe aren't as accustomed to what we're doing.
Mm.
So really interesting, really painful, but I see some good examples there. People still smiling. There are still events in the future that are having that have a variation to go ahead in some way, shape, or form, made it be virtual or downsized or reinvented.
That's great.
And
That's
yeah,
so good.
this thing will pass.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will. No doubt in my mind. It's a matter of when. I mean, you've been talking about, you know, helping other people with their challenges. What's been the biggest challenge apart from no day off? What's been the biggest challenge that you've faced during this period of time?
So I mean, it says in my job title, crowds, and crowds right now is a no-go. So when people ask me what density can we have, actually no real density, nothing that you would call density. Back in the days, we solved a lot of problems with queuing systems, like really particular professional queuing system. It's not a thing anymore. So now we need to solve it over time, or differently. There are different ways of solving it. So basically, we're not managing crowds anymore. We're managing individuals. because
Mm.
by the time they become a crowd, they become a problem. So that's really interesting. Um, and the advantage, to not call it a challenge, the advantage right now is that we can take so many resources and so many smart heads together, solve problems. Um, and if we do it right, we only need to solve it once, and then can use some aspects of this for another event, rather than to go down the same dead end, um, and then try something again.
This
So
is this
apart
is
from
one of
this,
the great things, isn't it? Is, I'm seeing this collaboration. There's so many opportunities. What we do here benefits here, and what we do in another country can benefit people in another country, so to speak. Yeah, yeah,
so the challenges, obviously, we also have the university. They have some challenges. Everybody has challenges right now, but we focus on the solutions, and they will come at one point. And yeah, I'm still hopeful. And if we have those big challenges and people really suffering from it, I won't say anything that I'm doing right now is challenging
yeah.
as
There's
such. It's not a problem.
there's always someone that's doing it tougher, or got a bigger problem. I mean,
Yeah.
you've spoken about some great leaders in the industry, people like Mike Nishi. You're obviously leading in your space. What are some of the, and clearly being a captain in the army, you have great leadership attributes, and you've learnt leadership skills and techniques. Are there any tips that you'd leave the audience with in terms of, some leadership principles that you operate by, Marcel?
Yes. Listen is the thing. Um, People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. That's something that was true in combat training, and it's true at the moment. Together with Mike, we are like, he's sharing the Commission for Safety and Medical at AIMS, the World Running Association, and I'm on
Yeah,
this committee with him. And we are dealing with basically all countries, and they're all in different scenarios. Their race came from a different background. You just heard a lot of origin stories on this podcast of how different races came about. They are in different countries, under different legislation, under different COVID stress. So the main thing is, when you are in an advisory role or leadership role, listen, because that makes you smarter and that prepares you. They give you most of the things that you need in order to lead them well. And if I'm a consultant by day, so that means what I really learned is to listen and see every single problem as an individual problem with individual people who need an individual solution. And for that, you can't come in and think you know it all. You need to come in willing to listen for a long time before you then say, I think I can help you with a neutral perspective, and help guide you in the right direction.
that's great advice. That's fantastic advice. And as always, the time flies by, and it's time to get to the traditional end of the aid station with something inspirational.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen plenty of inspirational things. Have you got an inspirational story that you'd like to share with the listeners?
So I told you that I'm touching my head very often in meetings, which isn't nice. I shouldn't do that when there's a camera directed at me, but it's painful times for sure. But people are still smiling. At the end of the meeting, we're all still smiling. In the beginning, like in this podcast, we're smiling. Literally, I'm telling my students. I just told the big guys in Chicago, from Chicago Event Management. I just told them, guys, I miss you. I was supposed to see you 3 times already this year.
Yeah.
I miss your events. I miss basically just having this not via Zoom, as much as it brings us advantages. We will need to go back at one point. And if we still love it, if by the end of all of this, whenever that may be, we still love our industry, then we're in a good place. And I cannot wait for that. I talked to the head of the Olympic Stadium in Berlin yesterday, 75,000. They cannot fill it out right now, but there will be a point when they can. And by that time, we will see it as a privilege to be in there. And if the first roar in this big stadium is just 1% louder because we missed it for so long, I cannot wait for that. There will be goosebumps. It will come, not tomorrow, but it will come. And I cannot wait to be in this crowd, to start a race, to open up a stadium, and just see the reaction. That will be bit more than we had before, maybe, because we remember it's not a given.
That's fantastic, and certainly you can see that that pent up demand, starting now, obviously as far away as New Zealand, where they had absolutely packed stadiums the
Yeah,
weekend before last, and again last weekend, and I think there's absolutely massive demand, and you've got this amazing opportunity to make this impact, and I'm so happy to see, because I know that you're a great lover of coffee and you roast your own coffee, so hopefully
thank
one
you.
of the advantages that you're spending some time at home, you've got a great supply of coffee. You gave me some of your beautiful coffee when I visited you in Manchester, and I look forward to sitting down and having a cup of coffee with you in the not too
For sure.
distant future. And thank you so much for making time. As always, great to chat, great to see you, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, Marcel.